I want to ask you today if you are sure you want to go beyond the matrix.
Yes.
Oh, don't be so quick to answer. I ask you that because as you go beyond the matrix, there can be some danger, there is risk, and on the other side, you may feel lonely. You will be criticized, you will be questioned, and your reputation might change. This is why I'm asking you, you must be sure that you want to go beyond the matrix. I think you do, or you wouldn't be here today. We want to go beyond the matrix because we know that if we keep on doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, we will be certifiably insane. A nice quote from Albert Einstein, pretty smart guy. I bet he could do some TED Talks. Our world is broken. Our world is a mess. This country needs change. And as someone who is from a generation that has left the world in pretty bad shape, I'm excited about passing the ball to the new generation because I think you are capable of that. I have not spent much time in your country, about 2.5 years, but I know some of you, and I know that you are capable of bringing about great change to Tunisia and the world. And guess what? You deserve it. You deserve it. Why do we need change? We know all about the distressing statistics. The purchasing power going down 88% in 8 years. A tumble in the prosperity index here in Tunisia from number 72 in the world to number 102 over the past 8 years. That's the wrong direction. And then we are still mired in the middle of the corruption index on transparency.org. This is a very important measure of integrity and lack of corruption in a country. We need to see improvement in all of these areas. And to do so, we're going to have to go beyond the matrix. Now, when I talk about going beyond the matrix, this will not be an easy task. It's not a matter of just taking a pill. It's not a matter of just crossing out of one curtain to another. No, I think when we want to go beyond the matrix, we need force and we need to make a hole in the wall of what is the matrix. So it will take energy and perseverance on your part. I think going beyond the matrix starts with this question. Does it have to be like this? Do I have to accept this present reality that I'm living in? Or can I be part of the change and bring about change in my personal life, on a societal level, as well as on a global level? And again, I repeat, you are capable of this. I believe that 100%. Well, what is the matrix exactly? Well, from my travels around the world, living and working in 5 countries, and my advanced degree in intercultural studies, I think the matrix is largely culture. Culture is an extremely powerful force that shapes you from the time that you were born. It's a little bit like this picture. Culture is the vice, that's V-I-S-E in English, by the way, not V-I-C-E. And you are that piece of wood being shaped by culture on a daily basis, even more than you realize. And if you don't believe me, travel to other cultures and tell me when you feel uncomfortable and why. It's because you have been formed by your culture, and now you're in a new culture, and you are feeling ill at ease. I like this definition of culture. In its broadest sense, is cultivated behavior. That is the totality of a person's learned, accumulated experience, which is socially transmitted, or more briefly, behavior through social learning. Culture is the totality of your learned experience. From the time you were born, you were learning culture. You came out of your mother's womb, and you were looking at your parents for cues. What is it to be Tunisian? What is it to be a human being? Then you were watching your siblings and your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, your extended family. Then you went to school and you started to take more cues from classmates, from your teachers who teach you some very interesting things in school, don't they? And then, now many of you are in the working world. You are continually shaped by culture, by your peers, and you are continually redefining what it is to be a human being and what it is to be a Tunisian. But you have a special challenge here in Tunisia if you want to go beyond the matrix. I think when you live in what I'll call a monolithic culture, the matrix is much thicker and harder to break through. What do I mean by that? There is not much diversity here in Tunisia. I know when I say that, as soon as I do, people say, but we have those Jews in Djerba. Thank you for being kind to them these hundreds of years. There are more Jewish people in my hometown in suburban Washington, D.C. than in all of Tunisia. And that's just one town. And so when you have a monolithic culture where you have the same language, same understanding of life, then that matrix gets very thick and hard to break through. In contrast, when you are from a diverse culture, you have many different people groups, many different languages, many different ideas. And what happens is the definition of what, for instance, a Canadian is much broader than what is a Tunisian. In fact, it's so broad in a place like Canada that it can be difficult to decide what is a Canadian because we are so different one from another in that country of Canada. And as that diverse culture stretches the matrix, it becomes thinner and it's easier to break through, and that's why you have so much innovation in diverse cultures. And you can do a study. This is another TED Talk. But diverse groups always make better decisions. Always. So, this is your challenge. And we know about the life stages here in Tunisian culture. You go to school, and you need to continue in school, get that baccalaureate. Then, go to university. Go as long as you can. Get an advanced degree if you can. Then after that, you have to get married. Everyone gets married. And then what comes after marriage? وقتاش انت باش تجيب صغار. Yeah. وين صغار? The stages of life in Tunisia are very clearly defined. So is what is success here in Tunisia. I think from my observation, it's building a villa in town of 4 stories. Right? And you live on the bottom floor, relatives on the second floor, you rent the 3rd floor to a rich foreigner, and the 4th floor for Algerians in the summer. And if you're lucky, you have 10 hectares of olive trees outside of town that you can retire on. Belief systems. Tunisia, an Islamic republic. That says something right away. Who is God? How do we relate to Him? How does He relate to us? You have often heard just one story. And it's repeated 5 times a day with that call to prayer. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is His messenger. This is reinforced constantly. One idea in your belief systems. And then values. What kind of values do we have here in Tunisia? How do we become a good human being? We place a high value on family, and we don't trust many outsiders, do we? We have very few friends, and we're not sure about people that are outside the family. We could talk a long time about that slide. But you see, the matrix is very thick in Tunisia. You have very strong ideas about what it is to be a proper Tunisian. But great movements in history involved breaking a hole through a matrix of culture. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. here broke a hole through a matrix of culture. He said, does it have to be like this? Do black Americans and white Americans have to drink from separate water fountains and eat in separate restaurants and sleep in separate hotels and use separate bathrooms? Why? When our rights are already written in American law. I don't think it has to be like this. And I'm going to break a wall through the matrix of American culture and smash through racism. We still have a lot of work to do in my country. Remember what I said about going beyond the matrix. It can be dangerous. In my own personal life, I have gone beyond the matrix in a couple of different ways. First of all, by going against the matrix of American culture. What is the American dream? It's to get a good career, make a lot of money, and buy a lot of stuff. We have a saying, he who has the most toys wins. We have an advertisement from a 1950s magazine. The things have changed, but the idea is still the same. It's very strong in my culture, materialism. And I said to myself, do I really want to just go up that career ladder and make a lot of money and buy a lot of things? What is the point? I think I would much rather live a life of service and see the world and learn about different cultures. I'm going to leave this career I have in journalism and see the world and go beyond the matrix. Then I also had to go beyond human culture. Oh, you're laughing now. I haven't even started talking about this slide. I had to go beyond human culture, which says me first. I have to look out for number one. How can I advance my life? How can I achieve my goals? We have a line here in Tunisia. This is at the inspection station in the zone industrielle. And every time we foreigners see a line like this, we never know what to do. Should we go in and start hitting people like this? Should we wait till these four gentlemen are finished? We never know what to do. But this is emblematic of me first culture. All cultures, no, not just Tunisian, all cultures have me first. And you say, I'm not like that, Ralph. When you take a selfie in the cafe with your friends, which some of you do every 15 minutes, I've seen you at Woodland Hills, who is the first person you look at in the picture? Yourself! The human condition is me first. And I said, what happens if I go beyond the matrix and live my life in service for others? Will that be richer? The answer is yes. I would not trade my life with anyone on this planet, my friends. I'm 57 years old. I would not change my life with anyone because I went beyond the matrix in at least these two ways. And then I've tried to do that in other cultures, help people go beyond the matrix, using this Chinese proverb as my motto. If you want to know what water is, don't ask the fish. As an outsider, I can come into different cultures and help people go beyond the matrix. I did it first of all in Côte d'Ivoire. I lived in the city of Bouaké, and I had an association there that helped business people get started. Well, we had a huge market fire in 1997. It burned all of the wooden stalls to the ground. Many people think the government set the fire because they wanted the business people to move to a new concrete market. I'll never forget the day after watching men and women sweeping up the ashes and saying, ala sagolo, which in the Bambara language means it's God's will. And I saw where we needed to break through the matrix of fatalism. I said, listen, my friends, I don't think God set the fire. And I think God has better things to do than to burn down your business. Don't give up. Don't move back to Mali. Don't commit suicide. Some did in that market fire. Hang in there. Let me put a call out to people. We raised some money very quickly. We got many of those business people back on their feet for just $100 US. We had to break through the matrix of fatalism. Then in France, we have a magazine article here. Too true, many times in the country of France. The white French guy hears Bienvenue dans l'équipe, and the young Arab gentleman hears On vous rappelle. Many times, French people would say, Arabs are stupid and dirty. And Arabs would say, all the French people are racist. And I said, I'm going to start an association. I'm going to call it Espérance. And we're going to get these two groups together. And why did I do that? Not just because I'm some kind of good person, but because I saw every single day conflicts between these two groups in the Paris suburbs. Every single day. And I said, why don't we get these two together, and they will discover they have much more in common than they think. And we saw some great things happen. We had a lot of fun, and I think started some nice, peaceful relationships in a small way in the suburbs of Paris. And then I went to Turkey to teach for a while in a well-known high school. My first day there, my boss said, we want you to teach them how to think. I said, what does that mean? He said, well, they're great at memorizing things. They have to memorize so much for the entrance exam to the university, but they do not know how to think critically. So we want you to teach them how to think critically. And we saw some great things happen there. My students have found good success around the world, actually. I'd like to think I played a small part in helping them to go beyond the matrix of memorization being the only criterion for intelligence and learning to think critically. When you go beyond the matrix, you may feel like this person. You may go splat against the wall, and it may knock the breath out of you. Don't give up. Keep thinking about going beyond the matrix. In fact, I would encourage you to think about the parts of your culture that are the most beyond question. Which parts of your culture do people say, you can't question that? Don't ask about that. Ask questions, because that's where the matrix is the most thick. And I'm not here to tell you where to break through the matrix, but you will need to do that if you want to see the things that we want to see and you want to create a better world. Revolutionary rebels around the world ask, does it have to be like this? And on the other side of the matrix, we have our beautiful wall here in Sousse. We will find ultimate truth. We will find freedom. We will find sustainable solutions. We will find peace between people. We will find greater equality that we all long for. And we will find integrity, which in many ways is the base of any successful society. Jesus said, you will know the truth, and the truth will make you what? Free. Not slaves. Free. You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. So I encourage you today, friends, to make a hole in the matrix, to go beyond the matrix with your effort. And on the other side, there's a beautiful world there. It starts with a question, does it have to be like this? And when you make your hole, I'll meet you on the other side. Thank you.